The sands of change are sweeping across West Africa. France, long accustomed to a dominant military presence in its former colonies, is steadily withdrawing. This shift is palpable in Senegal, where two significant military facilities were recently handed back to the Senegalese government. This event marks a pivotal moment in the relationship between France and Senegal, symbolizing a broader trend of African nations asserting their sovereignty. The implications extend far beyond the physical transfer of land and buildings, signaling a potential turning point in France's influence on the continent. The handover is a consequence of growing anti-French sentiment fueled by the lingering legacy of colonialism. This sentiment has manifested in protests and political movements across West Africa, putting pressure on governments to reevaluate their relationships with France. As Senegal takes control of these strategic assets, it marks a step towards greater autonomy and self-determination. And on March 7, 2025, a ceremony marked the official handover of two key military installations from France to Senegal. The Maréchal and Saint-Exupéry districts, strategically located near Han Park in Dakar, were once symbols of France's military presence in the region. These facilities, housing troops and equipment, played a significant role in France's regional security operations. Their return to Senegalese control is a tangible representation of the changing dynamics between the two nations. The handover represents a culmination of efforts, marking a concrete step in France's gradual military withdrawal from Senegal. The Maréchal and Saint-Exupéry districts are not merely plots of land. They represent strategic assets with the potential to bolster Senegal's own security apparatus. The facilities can be repurposed for a variety of uses, including housing Senegalese troops, serving as training grounds, or even being transformed for civilian purposes. For Senegal, it symbolizes a step towards greater sovereignty and control over its own security. The handover of French military facilities in Senegal did not occur in a vacuum. It unfolded against a backdrop of growing calls for greater autonomy and a reassessment of Senegal's relationship with its former colonial power. This sentiment found a powerful voice in the pronouncements of Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye. Late in the preceding year, President Faye made a resolute declaration: all foreign troops would be withdrawing from Senegalese soil. This declaration was a powerful articulation of Senegal's desire for self-determination and a rejection of any lingering vestiges of colonial influence. President Faye's words resonated deeply with a population increasingly wary of foreign military presence and eager to assert their nation's sovereignty. His declaration was a watershed moment, signaling a definitive shift in Senegal's approach to its relationship with France. Across West Africa, there is a growing movement against the perceived legacy of colonial rule and its continued impact on political, economic, and social structures. France's military withdrawal from Senegal is not an isolated incident, but rather a symptom of its waning influence across West Africa. Once a dominant force in the region, France has faced a series of setbacks and challenges that have compelled a reassessment of its strategy. From the ongoing instability in the Sahel region to the rise of anti-French sentiment, France's traditional approach to security and engagement in West Africa is being tested on multiple fronts. Despite significant military deployments and investments, France has been unable to quell the insurgency, leading to growing frustration and a perception that its intervention has been ineffective. Adding to France's woes has been the rise of anti-French sentiment across the region. This growing resentment towards France has made it increasingly difficult to maintain its traditional role as a security guarantor and has strained relations with former colonies. In response to these challenges, France has announced plans to significantly reduce its military presence at all African bases except Djibouti. A joint commission was established to oversee France's military withdrawal from Senegal. The commission ensures a smooth handover of military facilities. A major issue is the fate of Senegalese workers at French bases. The dismissal of 162 workers has sparked protests. Critics argue the dismissals were insensitive. The commission must address these concerns. Its success depends on managing social and economic impacts. The handover of French military facilities in Senegal cannot be viewed in isolation. It is intrinsically linked to the complex and often fraught history between France and its former colonies in Africa. The legacy of colonialism casts a long shadow over present-day relations, shaping perceptions, fueling resentments, and influencing policy decisions. France's colonial venture in Africa began in the 16th century, driven by a quest for resources, power, and prestige. Senegal, strategically located on the West African coast, became a key possession in the French colonial empire. For centuries, France exerted political, economic, and cultural control over Senegal, exploiting its resources, shaping its institutions, and leaving an indelible mark on its social fabric. While France officially granted independence to Senegal in 1960, the process of decolonization was neither smooth nor complete. This perceived continuation of colonial influence, even after formal independence, has fueled resentment and mistrust towards France. The handover of military facilities in Senegal marks a new chapter in the relationship between France and its former colony. It signifies Senegal's growing assertiveness in defining its own destiny and France's acknowledgement of the changing dynamics in West Africa. For Senegal, the withdrawal of French troops presents both opportunities and challenges. On the one hand, it allows Senegal to take greater control of its own security apparatus, shape its own defense policies, and strengthen its sovereignty. On the other hand, Senegal faces the challenge of filling the security vacuum left by the French withdrawal. This includes building up its own military capabilities, addressing potential threats from extremist groups operating in the region, and ensuring the safety and security of its citizens. For France, the withdrawal from Senegal is part of a broader strategic recalibration in Africa. This involves prioritizing economic ties, development assistance, and cultural exchanges as key pillars of its engagement with African nations. The handover of military facilities in Senegal raises questions about the future of French military presence in Africa. France's military engagement is evolving, focusing on partnerships, capacity building, and targeted support. Future presence will emphasize training and equipping local forces, providing technical expertise and logistical support. France is increasingly working through regional organizations and international partners. This collaborative approach aims to share the burden of security operations. The departure of French troops from Senegal marks a significant turning point in the country's history. As Senegal assumes full responsibility for its own security, it faces both opportunities and challenges. One of the most immediate challenges facing Senegal is filling the security vacuum left by the French withdrawal. This requires strengthening its military and intelligence capabilities, investing in border security, and enhancing cooperation with neighboring countries facing similar threats. Beyond the immediate security concerns, Senegal also faces the challenge of consolidating its sovereignty and charting an independent course in a rapidly changing world. This involves strengthening its democratic institutions, promoting good governance, and pursuing economic policies that benefit all segments of society. Despite the challenges, The departure of French troops also presents Senegal with an opportunity to redefine its relationship with the world. Free from the legacy of colonialism, Senegal can forge new partnerships based on mutual respect, shared interests, and a commitment to common goals. The handover of French military facilities in Senegal marks a profound shift in the dynamics between France and its former colonies in Africa. This act reflects the waning influence of France and the growing assertiveness of African nations. The withdrawal of French troops is a testament to the desire for self-determination and sovereignty. It underscores the shifting balance of power and the emergence of a more multipolar world. For France, this represents a need to adapt to changing realities in Africa. Thanks for watching. If you found this informative, please like and subscribe for subsequent videos, as well as to support our channel.